I was in court a lot in 2024 covering trials of people I've followed sometimes for years. Justice takes a long time, but it certainly came consistently this year. There are new Hall of Shame members.
What do you want to know?
Okay, who's Frank Potter?
I can't wait for my day in court.
Okay.
Right? Have a good day.
Why are you not doing these jobs, James? But 2024 has really been the year of punishment to Hall of Shamers of the past, several of whom are watching this story from behind bars. It's time for part one of the Hall of Shame, Incarceration Edition. Let's start with the big guy, Denny DiCapo. My first encounter with DiCapo was in 2014. Hi, Danelli. I'm Rob Wolchek from Fox 2. Can I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah, you know me?
Yeah.
From what?
Well, I've heard you're kind of a wheeler-dealer guy, kind of a hustler.
What about?
I dubbed Denny the king of Craigslist. His specialty was using ads to lure in potential victims of money-making schemes. I did several stories on Denny, catching him on undercover camera, selling cars, and promising private business funding.
How's your credit?
Pretty good.
What, 600, 650?
This is like probably 680,
Well, I
700.
got private money. You're good. You're real good then. I can get you the
Really?
financing. Yeah.
Denny was convicted of plenty of fraud charges over the years and did a little time. In fact, being locked up seemed to do Denny good.
My client has lost 120 pounds while he's been incarcerated.
But dieting DiCapo just seemed to go back to his old ways whenever he'd get out. The king of Craigslist kept on conning. This year, DiCapo was dethroned. Attorney General Dana Nessel charged him with running a criminal enterprise, along with 5 counts of larceny by conversion. He pled guilty and has been sentenced to 5 to 20 years in prison. Denny DiCapo, defrocked and locked, currently behind bars at the Charles Eagler Reception Center in Jackson. Attorney General Nessel also went after Timo. Hey, Timo, stop here for a second and talk to me. What do you got to say? You don't want to say anything to the victim? Anything at all? Don't get run over. Yeah, Artemio Sessions doesn't like me much, probably because I've been hounding him since 2019. He was running a company back then called Garages R Us. A better name would have been Cheating Customers R Us. I'll say this much, Timo got around. I interviewed victims all over the Detroit metro area, which is kind of funny because Artemio Sessions is one of those guys who didn't even have a driver's license and certainly didn't have a builder's license. Not that he did much actual building. Timo took lots of deposits to build garages, but the actual construction just never seemed to happen.
He took all my money. Now I don't have money to build another garage.
AG Nessel charged Timo in 2021 with running a criminal enterprise. Timo decided to fight the charges, and this year he went to trial, where a bunch of his customers testified against him.
After wasn't here, he came to my son. And my son gave him some money. And after I called to him, son, what you did it because we pay him already a lot of money, and my son pay him too, because my son trust him.
A jury found Artemio Sessions guilty.
Timo, you got anything you want to say?
No, nothing.
You don't want to apologize to the victims?
I got nothing to say to you guys.
Nothing at all.
Nope.
I got in one last dig before his sentencing in May.
The good news is you may not be seeing me for a long time. The bad news is you're probably going to go to prison.
And he is in prison. Artemio Sessions is at the Cooper Street Correctional Facility in Jackson. He'll be in prison until at least August 20th of 2027. Let me make this crystal clear. Crystal Davis has been convicted. There's a bunch of people that tell me you're ripping them off, Crystal.
It's a bunch of people telling you that I ripped them off that's lying.
I put Crystal in the Hall of Shame in 2020. She was posing as a real estate broker and a tax preparer. She had unhappy customers all over the country.
That's when my eyebrows started to raise because how did you file my taxes without my permission?
Crystal convinced Christina from Miami she was a real estate agent. She told me Crystal was taking thousands of dollars from her to fix up and find tenants for a house in Detroit Christina owned. But I went by the house. Didn't look fixed up or rented. But apparently, Crystal was taking deposits for the house, like Shanika, who also thought Crystal was a real estate agent.
She's the expert at frauding people.
But remember, Crystal was a Jill of all trades. She also convinced people she was a CPA, like Tara, who paid Crystal to do her taxes.
After my taxes are filed, I get a letter from the IRS stating that my taxes are being investigated.
Tara says Crystal told her.
You said you wanted the maximum refund. And I'm like, the legal maximum refund? That's why I went with you. I thought you were a licensed preparer.
Attorney General Dana Nessel charged Crystal with being a fake CPA and phony realtor. Crystal Davis eventually pled guilty to unauthorized practice of public accounting and 2 counts of occupational code, performing occupation without a license. In August, she was sentenced to 2 years of probation. While Crystal may have avoided time locked up, there are other Hall of Shamers who haven't been so fortunate in 2024. I'll have their unhappy endings tomorrow in part 2 of the Incarceration edition of the Hall of Shame.
Denny DeCampo was actually offered a lesser sentence if he came up with restitution money for his victims. He didn't pay. Timo was also ordered to pay restitution. He didn't pay either. Crystal has to pay restitution as well and is apparently doing so, which may be why she avoided time behind bars.